What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman. Now, ever since it was revealed that Christian Bale has a role in the upcoming Thor 4 Love and Thunder, which Marvel Studios has yet to confirm, there's been a ton of conjecture about who he could be playing. And just 2 weeks ago, we ran a story from Rob over at Comics Explained that said he had it on good authority that Christian Bale would actually be playing none other than Norman Osborn, eventually leading to perhaps a Dark Avengers in the MCU. But a brand new report today from a different publication rules out Norman Osborn, indicating that while Christian Bale is playing a villain, it's an intergalactic villain at that, swinging the door wide open on all the normal guesses for the villains fans most want to see in the MCU. But in my opinion, whittling it down to just one specific villain it can be. We're going to break down where this story's coming from, why the normal guesses like Adam Warlock and Galactus just don't make sense, and who in fact Christian Bale could be playing if it is an intergalactic or alien villain. But first, if you could grab the subscribe button, we're giving away 2 PlayStation 4 Pros, as well as a whole slew of other Marvel related stuff, including a limited edition Infinity Saga box set. If you want to be entered to win, all you have to do, hit the subscribe button, then hit the notification bell, leave a like and a comment on this video, and if you want, stick around at the end of the video. We'll get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Now, first things first, this report is coming from the Illuminati that Christian Bale is playing a villain, but an alien villain, as they put it, and then that headline matriculated a couple of times and turned into an intergalactic villain, because let's face it, that sounds better, and the galactic part closely matches Galactus. But before we go there, I want to jump right into Christian Bale playing Adam Warlock, as I had already seen that headline 2 or 3 times this morning on the way to the original story, and I think there's at least a couple reasons why that doesn't make any sense. Firstly, when we first encounter Adam, there's a good chance he'll be lined up as an adversary against whatever team he's going to face, immediately qualifying him for alien and villain. The problem is that team will most likely be Guardians of the Galaxy, unless they're going to play a huge role in Thor Love and Thunder. And as I've made the joke before, if even half the characters show up in that movie that are rumored to, it's going to be one of the most insane casts ever. When you add the lack of the Guardians of the Galaxy to the fact that Taika Waititi has a ton of real estate he has to make up with the Mighty Thor Jane Foster storyline, there's hardly enough time to introduce a character like Adam Warlock and do him any justice, not to mention the fact that when the Sovereign create him, even if he's fully grown when first we meet him, he's still going to be a rather young man, and a lot of the people who've been rumored to be playing him, something like Keanu Reeves or now Christian Bale, are sort of getting up there in age, especially for a character that will hopefully be part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward at least the next decade. And for those reasons alone, I think it translates to saying Galactus could be ruled out as well. There's not going to be any bandwidth for them to introduce Galactus, and although he has been a Thor villain, especially here recently, that only comes after a huge story build that they haven't gone anywhere near in the MCU. And like I said with the Jane Foster storyline, and I realize I just said Thori instead of story, but I like to think that's the kind of dialogue Taika Waititi would write, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it. With the Jane Foster storyline requiring so much attention to detail, it's going to be super hard for them to include any villain that doesn't directly relate to Thor's storyline. That's why it sort of really whittles down who he could be playing. It's not going to be something like Galactus or Mephisto, a character that requires so much contextualization, so much backstory for that character alone. All of that real estate is going to be spent on Jane Foster Thor and her arc. Without getting into too many spoilers, there's only one real villain that he could be playing that sort of has the depth that could match what Christian Bale is as an actor, really be a role that would warrant him taking it up, and then fit the storyline between him, Jane Foster, and Thor, have something going on that makes sense, and that's really Gorr the God Butcher. Now, we've talked about him here at the channel, and I'm going to issue a light spoiler warning here now, because I think there's a very clear dichotomy between Gorr the God Butcher, Jane Foster, and then what's going on internally with Thor and his arc throughout the Infinity Saga. And if you don't want to be spoiled for what's coming up in this movie, and if there's a chance that I'm right at all, it could reveal some major stuff for the plot. So I'm going to give you a chance to back out now in case any of you don't want to know too much information. But what goes on with Gorr is a Job story. He loses everything at the hands of gods. That's what drives him to want to kill gods. It's an extremely emotional and powerful story. You're not going to be endeared to Gorr the God Butcher the way that we sort of were with Thanos. It isn't the same level of cunning and intelligence. He's definitely a far more twisted villain at that. But the dichotomy comes between what's happening with Jane Foster's storyline, what's happening with Thor throughout the Infinity Saga, and what happens to the Job story for Gorr the God Butcher. He loses his whole family at the hands of gods, and then you have a god like the new Jane Foster Thor who's losing her own battle with cancer, and then a god like Thor who's also lost everything as well. And let me be a little more specific here. Jane Foster's going to have cancer. It's most likely going to threaten and or take her life during this film. That'll be the last piece that Thor has from the Infinity Saga, something that he's truly loved. He will have lost everything at that point, in the same way that Jane Foster will be able to escape the cancer when she turns into Lady Thor, but as soon as she reverts back to Jane Foster, all of the cancer treatment that she's undergone is undone by the transformation, meaning she's closer and closer to death, sort of like Spawn using his powers knowing that eventually he'll have to return from whence he came. This leads directly into Gorr the God Butcher losing his whole family at the hands of gods. Just like Thor losing his whole family and eventually Jane Foster, there's a duality there, a parallel between the two of them having lost everything, what it turns them into, what it can turn them into. And right now Thor is on a mission of discovery. That's why he was willing to relinquish his throne, give up Asgard, and try to figure out who he was meant to be. And there's a chance that if they include Gorr the God Butcher and then add on top of that the Enchantress, who's heavily rumored to be making her first appearance and who we know will be trying to manipulate Thor the entire time, then you throw on top of that Jane Foster losing her life, we could see Thor on the edge of turning to the dark side, a ton of manipulation and temptation to do so. And this is the dichotomy between Gorr the God Butcher and Thor, suffering the same fate, losing everything at the hands of what and for what, and then what that ends up meaning for who they become and what they become. And the parallel between the two of them makes sense for the storyline with Jane Foster in a way that really no other Thor villain does. And if you think about it, believe it or not, we've really run the who's who of Thor rogues gallery, run the gambit of villains. We've already used Surtur, Hela, a lot of the villains that you would expect, Executioner, all blown in the same movie. You have a ton of other villains like Loki and maybe some lesser knowns, but as far as the who's who, Gorr the God Butcher is definitely next on the list. And then as far as the range that Christian Bale could offer and a story that would be compelling enough for him to want to pick up a villain's mantle, this is definitely it. Now, of course, a sad day for all of us who thought he may be playing Beta Ray Bill, but that doesn't mean somebody else awesome couldn't take him up. And there were the other guesses he was playing Dario Agar or even Mephisto, but you guys have to remember what this storyline is. We already know, there's no guessing here. It's the Jane Foster Mighty Thor storyline, and there's only a few villains that can fit that narrative. One final thought I'll leave you with all of these casting rumors in the last week or two alone, seriously, just in the last week or two, we've had about 10 different casting rumors. There is really no outlet or platform for Marvel to announce these, and you can be sure, even at something like San Diego Comic-Con, that seems like it is right around the corner given how fast the year is moving already, it's already February, that they're going to make some major announcements and make good on some of these castings. The only problem is that if Christian Bale is playing something like Gorr the God Butcher or maybe even Beta Ray Bill, there's a good chance that Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios will choose to keep that from us because of the spoiler that will be. And unless they're looking to immediately board the hype train and give that up, if it's integral to the storyline, there's no way they're going to let us know, which is a super bummer, but it's the way it's going to be. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about all of this. A, do you agree with me that Gorr the God Butcher is the most likely villain for Christian Bale to be playing? And if you don't, and you think it's somebody or something else, I am all ears. By all means, drop that in the comment. I have just as good a chance as being wrong as being right. But do you follow what I'm saying in the logic that there's only so many villains, A, left in Thor's rogue gallery, but B, makes sense for the Jane Foster storyline? And are you on board with him playing an alien villain? And do you think that it's a good idea for him to take up a villain mantle instead of playing a hero like Beta Ray Bill when he's already been such a notable Batman? Leave all of your comments down below, and let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. We're still giving away 2 PlayStation 4 Pros, the next of which is at the 600,000 subscriber mark. We just gave 1 away at 550 and 2 away at the 500 mark. If you want to be entered to win, all you have to do, hit the subscribe button, then hit the notification bell, leave a like and a comment on this video, and that'll automatically enter you to win all the rest of the prizes, like the limited edition Infinity Saga box set. We just gave the first one away on New Year's Eve. We'll be giving this one away on the 2nd anniversary of the channel coming up in April. If you want to be entered to win either of the prizes, all the same rules will always apply. hit the subscribe button, then hit the notification bell, leave a like and a comment on this video, and because it's truly random, the more videos you like and comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will be announced at the end of videos, and if you've missed any of those announcements, no worries. All you have to do is scroll back through the channel, look for the winner announcement and the sub mark in the title, hit those, and scroll to the end. My name's Michael Roman, this is Everything Always, guys. Thanks so much for checking out the channel, and stick around, we'll be posting again real soon.